Mom, you stole it, didn't you? I'm calling the police on you for breaking in and stealing.
It's all your fault. You're gonna get arrested.
Huh? My husband and my daughter accusing me of something I have no idea about. What are they really talking about? I've got enough. I live with my husband Mason and my daughter Riley. My daughter got a job at a local company after graduating from high school and still lives at home. Just the other day, she got engaged to her boyfriend whom she had been dating since high school. My daughter was super spoiled by my husband, so she helps out nothing at home and can't do any housework at all. She spends most of her time at home on the couch with my husband. I was a little worried that she wouldn't be able to make it through a marriage.
Hey, put away these bottles and garbage. Quickly. And bring me another beer.
What? I'm doing the dishes.
Do it yourself. Don't you talk back to me. I'm the one who brings money to this house.
He's always telling me he's the one making all the money. My daughter is always taking the side of my husband, who spoils her. She hates me for nagging her. Riley, take your clothes to the washing machine yourself. And I told you put your jacket on the hanger. I'll do it later. You are annoying. No, do it now. You always forget and leave the laundry on the table. Stop bugging me, Mom. You're living on Daddy's money. With my husband's influence, even my daughter talks to me in this terrible way. I was trying to teach her to grow up and be independent, but I guess she didn't get it. I spend my day taking care of my husband and my daughter, and it's not a very cheerful life. One day, when she was getting ready to go out for a weekend, Riley, isn't that my necklace? Yeah, so what? I noticed that my daughter was wearing my necklace. I don't mind if she wears it, but it's not fine for her to do it without telling me. It's fine if you want to wear it, but at least should say something about it. You're annoying. Daddy said I could have it, so that's fine. What? Why does he get to decide what's mine? I talked to my husband who was chilling in the living room. How can you give my necklace to Riley without my permission? It's mine, you know. Why don't you check with me first?
Huh? What are you talking about? I'm the one who makes all the money. And I'm the one who sets the rule in this house. I say the necklace belongs to Riley. It's Riley's.
What is that?
You heard me. Stop nagging now. If you don't obey me, you can get out of this house.
He won't listen to me at all and even ask me to leave. I'm completely fed up with him. I can't take any more of his arrogance and selfishness. As he wished, I left home and went back to my parents' house immediately. The next day, while I was taking a rest at my parents' house, my cell phone rang. I opened it and saw that my husband had sent me a picture. To my surprise, the picture was of my belongings thrown away in a dumpster. Clothes, books, dishes were scattered all over the place. When I was still in shock, my husband called me.
Did you see the picture? I threw away your stuff just like that. Don't ever come back.
What the? I didn't expect him to harass me like this. I hurriedly drove to the dump site by my house in anger. Just as I was loading the dirty stuff, my daughter came out of the house. Mom, what are you doing? Riffling through the garbage? Super lame. It's because your dad doing this to me. You totally deserve this, and I can't have a mother like you. Get the hell out. Don't worry, I'll be gone as soon as I load up my stuff. My daughter sneering at me. I'm being harassed, and she is going after me like that. That's too insensitive. As I sorting through my belongings in frustration, I noticed that there was no jewelry of any kind. My jewelry, they're missing. Huh? I don't know anything about that. I mean, did you buy those stuff with Daddy's money, didn't you? You don't need jewelry or anything fancy. You're just a lame stay-at-home mom. Most of them I bought before we got married. And there are some important gifts from my mother. Even if I bought some with your dad's money, it doesn't mean he can throw it away without permission. You are going to throw away everything you own when you get married? I don't think so. I told her that as I packed all my belongings into the car and left. That same night, my daughter called me in a panic. Mom, you stole my engagement ring. Riley, what are you talking about? I replied in a cold tone. It's my engagement ring. Give it back to me. You saw that I didn't take it with me when I left the house. I'm sure it wasn't even in the dumpster. I don't know where it is. You still have the key. I know you came back and stole it while I was gone. You wanted to embarrass me. Well, I never came back. You're the only one who can do this. I am calling the police on you for breaking in and stealing. It seems like she's decided to accuse me of being a thief. I was disgusted, but continued to argue with her. You can call the police, but I really don't know anything about it. Actually, my jewelry was sold to a pawn shop, so maybe Daddy sold your ring. After that, I searched every pawn shop in the area and found them. I managed to buy them back. What? He would never do that.
You're saying I did that? Don't be stupid. You're the one who stole it and sold it.
That's right. You're the thief. My husband joined in with my daughter, acting like he's innocent. Then why don't we check the security cameras in the house?
What? Don't be silly.
I think we'd better go to the pawn shop before someone buys it. Yeah, why don't you take your dad? We can find out who sold your engagement ring. Okay then, let's go look for it at the pawn shop.
Wait!
I told my daughter about the pawn shop where I found my jewelry, and we all met up in front of the store. My husband clearly didn't want to go. Hello, may I help you? Hello, we're looking for a certain ring for sale here.
You mean that gentleman behind wrote yesterday? Do you want to buy it back?
Yes, we do. Right, Mason? What? Dad? Why? My daughter was in shock, and my husband is silent as he was being punished. Anyway, my husband bought back the engagement ring. When we left the store, my husband snapped at me.
I got rid of all your personal belongings. Get rid of my daughter's ring. You intentionally made me find the ring when you break into the house. This is all your fault, and you are going to be arrested.
What? What a messed up excuse. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Shut up. It's your fault. You disobeyed me and ran away from home. I bought Riley's ring back, so I'll forgive you too if you apologize for what you did. You can't make a living on your own anyway.
What am I apologizing for? Where does he stand on this? At my husband's stupidness, I finally lost my patience and lost my temper. Your messed up rules don't apply to the rest of the world. If a wife came home before the divorce, It won't be trespassing. Just because she moved things around the house doesn't make her criminal. On the contrary, if a husband throws away all his wife's stuff, while at the same time pulling out jewelry and selling them for money, he is a criminal. I don't have to live with a criminal. I have money.
You're lying. You live on Dad's money, don't you?
The money he brings in isn't enough to live on. I showed my daughter the household account book app on my phone and explained, but she didn't seem to believe me.
What would you have done with the money if you didn't have enough? You don't work, Mom, right?
I've been supporting the family by doing some internet business. We needed that extra money.
I don't know anything about that.
I told your dad that we didn't have enough money to live on. So I started working to bring in some money. But he just got mad at me and said I was just a housewife and I can't make any money. After that, we stopped talking about money because it was too much trouble.
Seriously?
They were both speechless with the truth. But I declared the divorce right there. I'm never coming home again. Just like you wanted. Riley, you can live with your dad. In the meantime, I'm going to ask you to pay for the cost buying back the jewelry and the alimony.
Huh?
I got a lot of stares from the neighbors while I was picking up my stuff from a dumpster. I could sue you for defamation of character, you know.
Wait, what? Wait! Don't do it!
I went after them, and they turned pale and scowled.
Come on, Nikki. I'm sorry.
Stop messing around. Please, don't divorce me.
Yeah, Mom.
I'm sorry too. Don't do this. My husband and my daughter rushed to apologize, but I told them it was too late. He just doesn't want to pay the money or have the police or lawyer call on him. My daughter doesn't want her father to get caught by the police and ruin the marriage. You're just pretending to apologize. I know you don't feel sorry for what you've done. After that, my husband didn't sign the divorce papers for a while.
I beg you, please, start over.
Well, if you pay the alimony and the settlements right now, I'll let you off the hook. But if you don't, I'll file a divorce settlement and I'll call the police. You'd rather lose the money and the family or add bad reputation on top of that. You know what I'm talking about? As soon as I told him that, he signed the divorce papers. He paid me the amount of alimony and settlement money I requested. As for my daughter, her boyfriend ended up breaking off the engagement. While I gained their sympathy, my ex-husband and my daughter were rumored by neighbors to be psycho. Unfortunately, my daughter's fiancé's family heard about it and they decided to break off the engagement. So, she ended up living with her dad. When she found out how much money her father was putting into the house, she contacted me.
I can't live with my dad. He doesn't even have any savings. It's your fault for breaking up my engagement. You should take responsibility.
Come help us, Mom. She is still selfish as ever and shows no remorse. She tried to turn her back on her father and turned to me. But I said no. I can't do that, honey.
Why? Why, Mom?
I turned off the phone and blocked her number. She is an adult now. She needs to learn how to take care of herself. And so my ex-husband and my daughter live in a small space, with everyone around them looking at them like they're crazy.
Hey, Riley, you do the laundry, okay?
No, I'm cleaning. You do the laundry.
What? Don't talk back to me like that.
You don't make a lot of money. So don't act like you do.
They're forced to do all the housework they're not used to, and the money was tight. It's not hard to imagine their relationship is getting worse every day. As for me, I am starting over in a new town. I'm enjoying the freedom of living alone, without being bound by other people's stupid rules. Living a carefree and cheerful life at my own pace, while continuing to work from home. It's so easy to do my own meals, cleaning, and laundry. I have more free time and a lot of money. I'm ready to start something new.
My brother-in-law suddenly passed away, and my husband ran away with his grieving brother-in-law's wife.
My brother is dead, and you are thinking about such a thing? I can't believe it. I can't be with you anymore.
My husband Jaden loudly shouted me during the funeral, but I knew that he was just faking his true intention. His body smells of perfume, just like his dead brother's wife.
I want a divorce. Divorce me immediately.
Okay, let's get a divorce then. My husband was stunned for a minute when I accepted the divorce easily, but gradually he began to grin. He probably thinks he can be happy with his dead brother's wife, now that he's divorced from me. That's not that easy. I whispered to myself so that no one could hear me. My name is Stella. I live with my husband Jaden and my mother-in-law. My parents already passed away and I have no siblings. My mother-in-law warmly welcomed me as if I were her daughter. I was so happy to have a family because I had been alone and depressed with no one to rely on. I love my mother-in-law and appreciate her very much. My husband had a younger brother, Bobby. Bobby is married to a young woman, and they live near my parents-in-law's house. When I joined the family, Bobby welcomed me with open arms and had the same kindness that my mother-in-law had. We live close to each other, so my brother-in-law's family and our family sometimes travel together. I was very happy with my new family, but those happy days were coming to an end. One day, my brother-in-law Bobby was rushed to the emergency room. I left work and was rushed to the hospital. In the hospital room, my mother-in-law was crying. I sat by her side and asked about his condition. He seemed to have passed the critical stage, but the doctor told us that it was still too early to tell. I held my mother-in-law's shoulder and encouraged her that everything would be okay. Still no sign of my husband or my brother-in-law's wife. I wanted them to come as soon as possible, because my mother-in-law must have needed them too. My husband was on an urgent business trip, but it seems he's on his way to the hospital now. But my mother-in-law is at the loss. The fact that she can't even get in touch with Bobby's wife, Karen. I'm wondering if there is any way to contact her. But there was nothing we could do if we couldn't get in touch with her. We just kept waiting and waiting. I wonder how much time passed. Suddenly, we heard footsteps approaching to the hospital room. It was my husband and Bobby's wife, Karen. He explained the situation and brought her to the hospital too. And brought her to the hospital with him. I was glad that they were able to meet up with each other. I was so relieved. But then, I felt a strange sensation. My husband, he smells different. Oh, is he wearing perfume? But I knew it somewhere. I looked over and saw Karen holding my brother-in-law's hand. A few days later, my brother-in-law passed away. The wake and the funeral had gone without a hitch, and things had settled down to a certain extent. I noticed that my husband was taking care of Karen in a very friendly way. It is true that she must be in more pain than I am, because her husband just passed away, and she probably needs a lot of emotional care. However, she seemed to be very close to my husband, and even seems to be having a good time. I found myself doubting their relationship when her beloved husband was gone, and I felt intense self-loathing. I guess I have just a bad way of looking at things, and that's how my husband takes care of the situation. Besides, it would be better for Karen to be happy than to be depressed. I thought about it and stopped thinking about it after that. But maybe I should have thought about it more carefully. After a while, my husband made a shocking revelation to me.
There's something I want you to hear.
I was folding laundry at the time when my husband said that. I stopped and faced him because he was talking to me with such a serious look in his eyes.
I've been missing something ever since my brother passed away. It's a wound that won't go away. Even when I'm with you, it wouldn't heal.
I was shocked, to be honest. I thought I was taking care of my husband in my own way. I was trying to do for him what my mother-in-law did for me. But that didn't seem to be enough. It hadn't been that long since my brother-in-law passed away. I was trying not to show that I was upset, nodding and listening to the rest of the story.
But I've met someone who makes up for that. Yes, you see, it's Karen, Bobby's wife. She, too, said losing her husband and left a hole in her heart. I think there are some things that can be filled only by those who have lost someone they love.
The wind has changed. I have a bad feeling. I try to deny in my heart that it couldn't be true, but to no avail.
The love of my life was my brother's wife, Karen. Please, divorce me.
My head was spinning. What the hell is he talking about? At that moment, I remembered what had happened at the hospital. My husband was on a business trip, and Karen was out of touch. They showed up at the hospital together, smelling the same perfume.
Karen is my destiny. I know that now. We just met in the wrong order.
That's why he was so obsessed with her. You've been planning to do it for a long time, haven't you? That's what I found myself saying.
What do you mean? Are you saying I've been having an affair for a while?
I came back to myself in surprise at my husband's fury. I explained to him how I had thought that, even though it had come out of my mouth unconsciously. But the more I told him about the perfume and how friendly he was taking care of her, the more I said, the more I was laying out the allegations of infidelity. My husband felt attacked and his mood soared. He showed his displeasure and made it clear to me.
We're still grieving, and you're talking about such a thing? I can't believe it. I can't be with you anymore.
And my husband left. The sight of my husband's back as he left, and the fact that he told me that I was not his life partner. The accident and the shock hit me at the same time, and all I could do was cry. It was so painful that I felt like I had to do something, or else I wouldn't be able to handle it. I picked up my brother-in-law's belongings. Bobby was into taking photos and kept a neat album of his photos. I opened it to see a picture of us on a trip together. The happiness in the photo is no longer here, and that I may have destroyed even the possibility of feeling it. All I can feel is sadness. As I flip through the album and look at the various photos, something slips through the cracks. It was an envelope. A few days later, my husband and I ended up divorcing. When my mother-in-law learned about my husband's story and his intention to divorce, she cried and apologized to me.
I am so sorry for my stupid son. I know you will be happy, Stella.
Even though we are separated from each other, you and I are still family. So if you ever need me, please call me immediately. My mother-in-law was always being good to me, and she has nothing to apologize for. Making such a kind person cry, I was sad than anything to leave my mother-in-law. I moved out of my parents-in-law's house and started living alone. I lived alone before I got married, but I am irresistibly lonely. However, such loneliness only lasted for a while. 2 months later, I got a call from my mother-in-law. Apparently, my ex-husband and Karen moved out on their own. Because of this, my mother-in-law had too much space in her house. She's thinking of getting rid of it and starting a life on her own. But she moves out, she won't have any friends in the neighborhood to rely on. She asked me if it was okay for her to move to a place close to me. Hearing my mother-in-law's voice, as she spoke with a sad smile on her face, I suggested that we move in together. At first, she was reluctant to do so, but I convinced her that I couldn't leave her alone. In the end, we bought an apartment and moved in together. Since we started living together, we became more like real mother and a daughter than ever before. These days went on for a while. I received a call from a number I didn't recognize, and it was her, Karen. I asked her what she wanted after all these years.
How come the house is not there? And what's more, you've been adopted?
I thought my heart would stop in surprise when she suddenly shouted in my ear. There is now another building in the place of my parents-in-law's house that my mother-in-law sold. Since she sold the land, it is not strange that there is a new building there. Also, the adoption was proposed by my mother-in-law when we decided to move in together. The exact opposite of when we suggested we move in together. And I was initially reluctant to ask her to go that far. But my mother-in-law said she wanted to be a real family, and I didn't mind. So I agreed. However, the fact that Karen complained about it made me think that she was also after Bobby's inheritance, which was inherited by my mother. Soon after my mother and I moved in together, it came up many times that Karen might have married my ex-husband for Bobby's money. And now that she had already inherited his fortune, but we managed to keep the rest. I opened my mouth, knowing that the time had come. I don't deserve to be told what to do. We're not family anymore. I want you to be thankful that I didn't ask for alimony for the affair. If that's what you want, I'll ask for it. My ex-husband told my mother that he was divorcing me, and she declared herself insulated from him. Karen seemed a little taken aback by my response, but regained her composure and retorted.
You had accused Jaden of adultery, even before we were together, hadn't you? You made him want to leave you. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Huh. What if I told you I have proof? Her response is so predictable that I counter with a bit of a snort. Silence flows from the phone. I found that letter. Yes, the envelope. That came out of my brother-in-law's photo album the day my husband left me. The letter was filled with his grudge. The doctor told me I don't have much time. So, when you read this, I won't be around anymore. This letter contains the hidden evidence of my wife's affair with Jaden. If Jaden or Karen finds this letter, they can destroy it all. Then I will have failed miserably. But if you, Stella, find this letter, let my wife and my brother be punished for what they deserve. My brother-in-law's letter also contained his feelings for his wife. After we got married, Karen quit her job. She thought it was my job to make her happy, so she just sat around the house and did nothing. When I told her that we should help each other out a little more, she got upset. And then there were days when she shut me out when she thought I wasn't making enough money. I had a hard time accepting that my wife had changed so much. So if I could work hard and make her life easier, I hoped she would return to her old self. But that was her true self after all. I'm so ashamed that I didn't see it. If my ex-husband and Karen hadn't gotten involved, I wouldn't have tried to make things worse. But if I let her misdeeds go any further, I had to take action for my late brother-in-law. I'll destroy them both. Bobby saw through you two a long time ago, and he had gathered all the evidence. And I am going to ask you to pay alimony. It was easy to imagine her shaking over the phone. She's trying to sound as strong as she can, with that shaky voice of hers. There is no way you can ask for alimony now that we're married. That's a bluff. You're trying to scare me. But it's not going to work. I'll sue you for blackmail. Be my guest. Paying for a lawyer costs a lot, you know? Well, I'm sure it's a waste of money. You seem to have studied the division of property, but you didn't learn about adultery. So naive. You thought Bobby didn't know anything about it, did you? I didn't flinch at all. Then she hung up the phone violently. Later, I filed a claim for alimony with my ex-husband and his new wife through a lawyer. After a while, my ex-husband contacted my mother. Apparently, he wanted to leave Karen and live with my mother. Karen's original bad character combined with her anger at being charged with alimony. She seemed to be doing pretty much whatever she wants to do to my ex-husband. My ex-husband's voice is so tired. It's hard to believe they were newlyweds. Like my late brother-in-law, he failed to see her true nature. It's amazing what blood can do to you. I'm sitting next to my mother, talking on the phone.
Come on, Mom. I didn't know she was like that. I can't live with her anymore. I just want to be with you and my Stella again.
What the hell?
You're the one who said she wasn't the one and left. I won't allow a man to hurt my daughter. I won't let you live with us. If you are really sorry, you'll first pay the alimony. If you do anything to me or Stella, I'll call the police.
No, Mom!
Please.
I can hear the pathetic voice of my ex-husband on the phone. But he is, after all, my mother's own blood. She couldn't forgive him, so she gave him mercy.
If you really can't pay the alimony, I'll pay it for you instead of a living will. In exchange, you must forego all inheritance after my death, and never to appear in front of us again.
My ex-husband had no choice but to accept my mother's last act of mercy. We never heard from them again. My mother and I still spend time together. When we are happy, we rejoice together. And when we are sad, we comfort each other. And if we have a bad day, we've strengthened our bond enough to be able to clash with each other. Bobby, I've got your revenge. I still remember my brother-in-law. Although we are not related by blood, now I have a strong bond with my mother, and we will live happily together as a family.
My husband disappears and everyone blames me for it. And then he shows up with my sister who is pregnant.
It's your fault that your husband disappeared. I heard you didn't cook enough meals and had a terrible attitude. He may have already taken his own life because you pushed him away. No way.
My husband Jackson suddenly disappeared less than a year after we got married. His friends and colleagues blamed me, but I have no idea what happened. What the hell is going on? I have a younger sister, April, 8 years younger than me. My parents always favored my sister, who is friendly and charming.
Maya, I'd like to try your hamburger too. You already ate yours. I'm enjoying my food.
Hey Maya, your sister wants some, so give it to her. Your big sister. Be nice.
April wanted to have everything that's mine. Whether it's food or clothes or school supplies, she begs me for anything.
I want your scarf, Maya.
No,
I used this one for school, and you have your own. I want that one. You're so mean.
Don't be mean, Maya. Give her the scarf.
But that's mine. Yay! I want those gloves too. These are too big for you anyway. No, I want them too.
Maya, just give them to her. April wants them. You're a big sister, so be nice to her.
My parents, who never listened to me but listened to my sister's every wish and spoiled her. I'm always forced to put up with them because I'm older. In this way, my things were taken away from me whenever April wanted. It was too painful to live with such a family. So, I left home as soon as I entered university. I had to work part-time to pay my tuition and live on my own. It was very hard for me to balance my part-time job with my university. But I was free from the stress of that toxic family, and it was more than enough for me. After graduating from university, I successfully found a job. I even got a boyfriend, and my days were full of happiness. Then, after 3 years of dating, my boyfriend Jackson proposed to me.
I think it's time to start thinking seriously about our future.
Huh?
Will you marry me, Maya? Let's make a happy family together.
I was so happy to hear his proposal, but I hesitate to respond. I hadn't been in touch with my family since I left home for university. When you get married, it's a custom to see or contact both sides of the family.
What's wrong? You don't want to get married?
No, I do. It's just what I should do about contacting my family. I mean, do I still have to invite my family to the wedding? Maybe I can't escape from the curse of my family after all. Jackson could see how I was lamenting with a gloomy look on my face. I already told him about my family, and he said,
Don't worry about that. You don't have to force yourself to call them. I wouldn't invite a family member to my wedding who can't treat you right.
Thank you, Jackson. He always cares about me and prioritizes my feeling. I can trust him. Soon after, we decided to get married. We didn't go to my parents' house and decided to greet only his parents. But when I went to say hello to his parents,
I'm so happy for you. Good job, Jackson. You're marrying such a nice girl.
my father-in-law was smiling and happy with open arms. On the other hand, my mother-in-law had a stern look on her face.
I don't know how she's going to be able to live as a family if she can't get along with her own family. I'm not sure who is to blame. If I only listen to one side of the situation, I don't think it's a good idea for this marriage. Mom.
I know. I'm sorry. My mother-in-law didn't approve of our marriage. I understand her point of view. And I want to marry Jackson. And I want to convince both of his parents. I decided to go to my parents' house to solve the problem. When I visited the house, they didn't even let me in. And as I expected, they were very curt.
Getting married? Why should we care? You left on your own wish, so you can do whatever you want. I'm not even going to the wedding.
No, please. My parents coldly treated us at the front door. Your fiancé must be very fond of you, Maya. He's weird. My sister, now a college student, lives at home. She's laughing at us behind my parents.
I don't care if you don't attend to the wedding. Can't you just meet my parents? No. Why should I? I don't care about her marriage.
Jackson tried his best, but my parents refused like it was nothing. Wait! Is it because you can't get married unless you introduce us to his parents? Maya is a bitch, and we never liked her, so we don't care about her. That means you will never get married, Maya. You're such a loser. My sister laughs at me as if she enjoys my misfortune. I knew it was coming, but this is the kind of family I've come to expect. It's impossible to have a proper relationship with them. Jackson and I had no choice but to leave when we realized that talking to them any further was not going to get us anywhere. The next day, we visited my in-laws to share the results about my parents. I am so sorry. They said they don't plan to come to the meeting or the wedding.
They were so cruel and wouldn't even listen to us. Well, I guess it can't be helped then. Don't worry about that too much. I've known Maya for a long time, and I know her well, and I trust her. I want your approval, Mom. What do you say? I still don't approve of it myself, but it's your decision, so you can do whatever you want. Then we'll get married.
All right. Do what you want. Thank you. I'll do my best. My mother-in-law seemed My mother-in-law seems a bit upset, but I think it's safe to say she's accepted me. If possible, I wanted her to be happy with it. Soon after, I married Jackson. I became a housewife. We rented a new house and started our life together. I wanted to get to know my parents-in-law as well as possible.
I'm home. Welcome home. You two look well. Good, good, good.
Okay then.
I'm gonna get our dinner ready.
I'll help you.
You get your fancy clothes to get dirty.
Oh, shoot. My mother-in-law is as cold as stern as ever. I guess it's hard to get along with her after all.
There's an apron over there. Grab that and follow me.
Okay, thank you. But the more I interact with her, the more I realized that she is not unreasonable or mean. If you were faithful to her, she would accept you. I made up my mind that one day she would recognize me, and I tried my best with all my heart. But then, to my surprise, my husband disappeared within a year of our marriage. I tried to contact the company he worked at, but they say he had already quit. I reported him to the police, and my husband left a note. I can't live with you anymore. You abuse me all the time, and you don't even cook meals for me. You get hysterical because I don't make enough money. It's hard. I can't stand it. Please don't go look for me. I don't know what's he talking about. I'm not abusive, and I cook meals every day. I've never told him anything about how much money he makes. I've never been violent, not even once. I don't understand what's going on here. None of this is true. I've tried to find out where my husband went, and I've asked his co-workers and friends. Everyone gave me the cold shoulder.
Your husband disappeared, and it's your fault. I heard you didn't cook enough meals and behaved badly.
He told me he was verbally abused on a daily basis. He sounded like he was having a mental breakdown. I guess that's what made him want to run away. It's your fault, isn't it? You are a real scumbag.
Maybe he's already taken his own life. You pushed him that far.
Apparently, he'd been telling his colleagues and friends that he was being treated badly by me on a daily basis. I'm sorry, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway, I'm trying to track him down.
Even if I knew, I'm not going to tell you.
I'm being completely demonized. Not only no one is willing to help me, but everyone blames me. Why should I be blamed? I don't even know why I'm being blamed. Maybe I pushed him into a corner without realizing it. He took his life because of me? I'm so confused that I can't even make a proper decision. I didn't know what to do anymore. I couldn't even think of a way to track down his family register or have a credit agency check him out. The only people who believed in me and cared for me were my in-laws. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm the reason my husband disappeared. I'm sorry.
That's not true. You don't have to be so hard on yourself.
Yes, he's right. It's not your fault. Thank you. I know you've been working hard. I know that you're not a flake. I know what you are. You are a sincere person. Thank you for saying that. My mother-in-law accepted me through our marriage.
If you were in need for further help, why don't you come here and live with us?
Really?
Maya, you're family now. You don't have to worry about it.
If it's okay with you, it's okay with us. I can't believe it. I'd love to. It's hard to pay the rent on my own, and I have nowhere to stay. My in-laws are willing to let me stay with them. I bowed deeply and thanked them with tears in my eyes. I really can't thank my in-laws enough. 20 years later, my aging father-in-law passed away. I wish I could have talked with you more. My father-in-law was mild manners, positive, and a little bit mischievous. From the first time I greeted him, he accepted me with open arms. Memories of my father-in-law keeps coming to my mind, one after another, and tears of sadness flow down on my face. A few days after my father-in-law passed away, my relatives gathered at my parents' house and held a memorial service for him, with the sadness was still fresh in my mind. Then, to my surprise, my husband, who had been missing for a long time, showed up.
It's been a long time.
He came home as if nothing had happened, and we rolled our eyes.
Jackson, where were you? I'm actually made a family with your sister.
According to his story, 20 years ago, my sister secretly contacted my husband, and they had a series of secret meetings and became very close. She became pregnant with his child and made it look like I was responsible for his disappearance. My sister wanted everything that was mine, but I never expected that she would want my husband too. My parents knew about it, but they were so protective of my sister that they cooperated with my husband and sister in his disappearance. They were investigating my movements on a regular basis. They were the ones who told my parents that my father-in-law had passed away.
Thank you for taking care of my parents. We're going to go through a lot of procedures and stuff. I've decided to take this opportunity to move back home with my family. So, you can do whatever you want, Maya. I'm saying you don't have to take care of my parents anymore.
What? You want me to leave this house? I've been treated so coldly by so many people that it's no wonder I dropped my husband away. You don't know how long I have been blaming myself. I couldn't believe that it was all a lie. A lie. So my husband would live happily with my sister and a child. I was so stunned and I couldn't think straight.
Don't be ridiculous. It's beyond selfish of you to come back with her after all this time.
My mother-in-law yelled at them in anger.
Maya is my daughter. I adopted her. We've been living together as a family.
What? My in-laws proposed adoption with me, so she is now my adoptive mother.
I know you came back for your father's inheritance. My daughter filed for dissolution of marriage with you after declaring you missing. Only my daughter and I are entitled to the inheritance. Oh, no. No way.
His face turns pale and he's in panic. But as long as you are alive, we have to withdraw the missing persons declaration. Then you have your inheritance, and we can redistribute it.
Well then,
the sparkle returned to my ex-husband's face. But my mother was merciless.
But that doesn't mean you'll get any money. You've caused my daughter so much pain and trouble. And then you come back here just for the money. I'm here to make amends for raising a man with such stupidity. I'm giving all my inheritance to my daughter as compensation for the divorce and a share of the property.
What? My ex-husband was surprised that he couldn't say anything.
It's been 20 years, but the adultery was only discovered now. She has the right to demand alimony from you for your infidelity. Considering that, at the time of your disappearance,
She was emotionally scarred from being slandered for something she didn't do or say. I'm afraid that even if you were included in the redistribution, it may not be enough to offset the loss. No. My ex-husband was flustered and clung to me. I'm sorry. I'll come back to you. So no alimony, please. Then, a man stepped forward and intervened between my ex-husband and me. If you have been doing research, you know she is remarried. She's my wife now. The man is my husband. I've already remarried and had a child. If you present my declaration of disappearance, your dissolution of marriage is invalid. Your marriage is invalid. Revoking a declaration of disappearance does not affect the validity of any act done in good faith between the time of the declaration and the revocation. In other words, if you were married without knowing your ex-husband's alive, your marriage to your new spouse takes precedence. The remarriage is valid. The ex-husband flinched at the words of my husband, who calmly pointed out. I, too, was stunned and angered by my ex-husband's overly selfish insistence. You came this far, and when you find out you had to pay alimony, you flipped out. How much more of a scumbag do you have to be? Even if my remarriage is invalid, there is no way I would want to go back together with you. I'll go to court and do whatever it takes to get a divorce. There's nothing he can do now. Let's go back in time. Forget I ever showed up here. I'm already dead. My ex-husband turned on his heel to run away, and my husband grabbed him and said, It's absurd to try to run away. Write a letter of intent. The ex-husband signed the letter of intent promising to pay alimony. We also made him sign, my sister and my ex-parents, as co-signers, and gave us their address and contact information. After that, when I asked my ex-husband and my sister for alimony, they said they couldn't pay. We have debts to pay and we can't afford to pay this much. We helped April and Jackson with money too, so we can't any money anymore. My ex-husband, who is missing, can't even get a decent job. It seems neither of them can afford it. They deserve what they get. When I told them I would appeal to the court, they asked me to reduce the amount. I'll pay you. I just need you to reduce the amount, or wait for me to pay it. Please.
I'm telling you, I can't pay this much. Reduce the amount.
They started coming to me every day, like they were harassing me. It's so depressing. I told them that if they insisted any longer, I would report to the police, and they finally paid me in one lump sum. My ex-parents had to use the father's early retirement money to pay for everything, so they were completely broke. Of course, they asked me for help. We can't afford to live like this, so please help, Maya. Please. We're family after all, aren't we? No, we're not. You're strangers to me. I have a family now. Please, don't say that. We're your children's grandparents. If you come near my family, I'll do whatever it takes to protect them. I will call the police. Don't you ever contact me again. I warned them and blocked them from my contact. How can you say such a thing after you and my sister betrayed me that way? How insensitive. I'll never have to see those scumbags again. As for me, I'm living a peaceful and happy life with my real family.
Mommy, is this how you whisk eggs?
Yes, you're doing great. It's nice to have a meal prepared by my grandchild.
I've been making lots more for you, Mom. And Grandma.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it, sweetheart. I'm so grateful to live with a family that trusts each other. I will continue to do my best for my family with all my heart.
During Ayel's funeral, husband blames me for her death. Relatives leave silently. Husband is clueless. Lol.
My mother died because my wife never provided her with decent meals. You're the worst wife, Sarah. Just get out. My husband shouted these words in front of the entire family. What a despicable man, trying to corner me mentally even at a time like this. As I clenched my fists in anger, the next moment, all the relatives stood up from their seats. Then everyone bowed to me and silently left the room. Why? A certain person spoke to my surprised and flustered husband. My name is Sarah, a 40-year-old housewife. I've been married to my husband James for 5 years. We met at a group blind date. At that time, I was struggling to find a partner, so I attended the blind date when a friend invited me. James was the center of attention among the men, engaging in various conversations and making everyone laugh when he spoke. I was attracted to his cheerful personality. Then, when we changed seats and ended up next to each other, we discovered that we both really loved coffee, and we decided to go to a cafe together, which led us to meeting one-on-one. That was the beginning of him inviting me out for meals and cafe visits, and we started dating and eventually became a couple. I had so much fun spending time with them, and I became increasingly attracted to him. About a year after we started dating, he proposed to me and we decided to get married. I want you to be a housewife once we're married. I quit my job at the company I was working for and became a full-time housewife, just as he requested. Since then, I've been working hard on housework to support James. But soon after getting married, I began to regret it, as he turned out to be quite the chauvinist. Hey, the ironing on my dress shirt isn't good enough. He said that, but looking at the shirt on the hanger, I honestly couldn't tell what was wrong with it. But since he said to redo it, I hurriedly re-ironed it while he ate breakfast. As I finished and hung it on the hanger, he left his dirty dishes and went to the bathroom. I was quite surprised by his behavior at this point. It was because he was a completely different person from the kind man he was before we got married. Well, I'm off. Have a good day. After seeing my husband off to work, I would always feel completely drained. Being together felt suffocating. Is this okay for newlyweds? I was soon overwhelmed with such anxiety after getting married. But still, I thought I should at least try married life for a year. I might have my own shortcomings as well. With that in mind, I tried to improve what I could. But James' attitude remained the same. You really are a useless wife. Why can't you do what I tell you? He relentlessly berated me like that. Despite it all, I continued with our married life for at least a year. One of the reasons I couldn't bring myself to divorce was my mother-in-law, Emma. Thank you, Sarah, for always helping out. It's such a relief having you here. Oh, don't mention it. Please don't hesitate to ask for anything. Feel free to tell me anything. Emma lived near us, and she had been living alone since her husband passed away. But recently, she had been struggling with housework because of her bad legs. So during the day, I would go to her house and help out as much as I could. From the very beginning of our marriage, she had been very kind to me, treating me like her own daughter. Our only child is James. We really wanted a daughter, too. That's why I'm so happy to have such a wonderful girl like you, Sarah, as my daughter-in-law. Oh, Emma. Having been told such things by her, it was difficult for me to talk to her about James' chauvinistic behavior,
and I couldn't bring myself to divorce him, fearing it would make her sad. Amidst all this, something happened that made it even harder for me to divorce. What? Your mom was taken to the hospital? Yeah, so please go see her in the hospital. James told me that, and I rushed to the hospital. When I entered the hospital room, I saw her lying on the bed. "Aw, Sarah, you came." "Emma, are you alright?" "I'm sorry for making you worry." She had collapsed from a stroke while shopping and had been taken to the hospital by ambulance. "I guess I'm getting old. You never know what might happen." She said this with a worried expression. It was painful for me to see her like that. A few hours later, after finishing work, James arrived at the hospital. "Mom, are you okay?" "Ah, James, I'm sorry for worrying you." "I'm fine." "No, but you just collapsed out of the blue. Of course I'm worried." After making a worried face, James seemed to have a sudden idea and said this. "Oh, I know. When you're discharged, Mom, let's live together." "What?" "That way we can take care of you, and if something happens, we can help you right away." I was shocked. Normally, you would first consult with your wife, me in this case, and propose the idea of living together to her after deciding together. But without involving me, he immediately brought up the idea of living together with his mother. It's as if I have no right to voice my opinion. If my mother-in-law agreed, I wouldn't be able to refuse. Well, I am worried about her, and I don't mind living together, but I still wanted him to talk to me about it beforehand. Because he suddenly brought it up, it made her uncomfortable. But for Sarah, living with her mother-in-law could be difficult. When she said that, I almost told her, "Oh no," but James interrupted. No, she doesn't mind at all. In fact, she's terrible at housework, so you should teach her." My mother-in-law was surprised by his remark. "James, what are you talking about? Sarah is doing just fine. She's been a great help at my house too." As she defended me, James looked annoyed. Well, as long as both of you are happy. Sarah, you're okay with living together, right? Sure. Then as soon as Mom is discharged, we'll move in together." James made the decision to live together in her house rather forcibly. A week later, when my mother-in-law was discharged, James and I terminated our rental apartment lease and moved in with her. "Sarah, I look forward to living with you from today on." "Same here." She greeted us warmly, and our life together began in a peaceful way. I tried my best not to burden her with housework and took the initiative to do it myself, but she insisted on doing simple chores, saying that she would become unhealthy if she didn't move. We cooked together, and she taught me various recipes. Her cooking was truly delicious, and I learned a lot. James seemed satisfied with the clean house and delicious meals. At first, I was unsure about how living together would work, but I started to think that it might be better for me. As a housewife living with just my husband, James was the only person I talked to. But having Emma around gave me someone to talk to during the day, which became a source of mental support for me. She would also step in when James was about to complain about something and take my side. When she scolded him, he would stop complaining, which was truly a blessing. In the blink of an eye, 4 years passed since we started living together. While I still had my share of complaints about my husband, I got along very well with my mother-in-law, so I didn't think much about divorce. But just when I thought things had finally settled down, James started to show even more unreasonable behavior. "You're terrible at managing the household finances." "What?" You're spending too much on food. No, I think it's an average amount. No, it's too much. That's why I've decided to give you less money. What? I used to give you $370 for food expenses for the three of us, but starting this month, it's $170. What? That's not enough. It's more than enough. You just have to figure it out. But we won't be able to get enough nutrition and we won't be able to eat satisfying amounts of food. Figuring that out is the job of a full-time housewife. James suddenly made such an unreasonable demand, and he really only gave us $170 a month. There's no way we can cover the food expenses for 3 people with $170. I also want to make sure my mother-in-law gets nutritious meals too. But James wouldn't listen at all, and he didn't give us any more money. So for now, I did my best to make nutritious meals within the $170 budget, and I had to be incredibly creative. I bought large quantities of meat at wholesale supermarkets, divided them into smaller portions, and froze them. I looked for discount vegetable stores and stocked up, and I froze what could be frozen right away. I stopped buying all the snacks we used to buy and switched to cheaper bread. And I didn't forget to be inventive with the menu. I generally bulked up meat dishes with vegetables and tofu. I made sure to prepare soup almost every time so that we could fill our stomachs even with a small number of dishes. I think I'm doing really well. Emma also said, I know that you're trying to save money, but it's amazing that you can still make such delicious meals. And she apologized. I'm sorry that James is saying such outrageous things. Until now, if I warned him, he would stop doing unreasonable things, but this time he won't listen to me no matter what I say. So he wouldn't even listen to you. Although we're managing somehow now, I don't know how long we can keep living like this. Both Emma and I were quite worn out from being at the mercy of James' unreasonableness. And then my husband made another unbelievable remark. It looks like you can live comfortably with just $170. So let's make it $55 starting this month. What? Are you out of your mind? That's impossible. Oh, you haven't changed at all. It's not about whether you can or can't. It's about doing it. If not, I won't even give you $55. No. It's already so difficult, and now he wants us to live on half the food budget? I felt like I was going crazy. But he really only gave us $55 a month. Fortunately, he started working more overtime and going out for drinks more often, so it was fine if I just prepared meals for my mother-in-law and myself, even if the menu was modest. But we definitely didn't have enough nutrition, so I went to several supermarkets to find where meat was on sale and bought meals with half-price stickers on. Of course, I relied on the meat from the wholesale supermarket, but I had to buy beef and ground pork at a regular supermarket. Shopping by train was a waste of money, so I rode my bicycle around to stores. I think I really made a tremendous effort. But even in the midst of all that, my husband made another unbelievable remark. I don't get why I have to pay for utilities when I'm hardly ever home. My mom's name is still on the bill, so from now on, I'm not paying for utilities. I really couldn't take it anymore. That's not right. We're living in your mother's house, aren't we? You use the bath and you often fall asleep with the lights on when you come home late at night. If anything, your mom and I use less electricity. I angrily retorted, but my husband predictably got upset. Who do you think is feeding you? Have you forgotten that I'm providing the money for food? It's just $55 that he's giving us. What's with his attitude? That was my honest thought, but if we lost that $55, we would be the ones in trouble. Anyway, I'm not going to pay for utilities anymore. In the end, James forcibly decided on that as well. Emma and I were at our wits' end. Well, I can pay for utilities and such with my pension. Oh, Emma. Is there any way to break through this situation? In the midst of this, I came across some information. I thought maybe I could do this too. So I immediately put it into action. About half a year passed since then. Emma and I were somehow getting by with our frugal lifestyle when one day she suddenly fell ill and passed away. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that my mother-in-law, who was my emotional support, was gone. Even my husband was shocked. I can't believe my mom passed away. The wake began the next day, and relatives and friends of Emma attended. But at this wake, James caused an unbelievable incident. It was about the food served at the wake. Everyone was eating and talking while thinking of my mother-in-law. In the midst of that, my husband, perhaps feeling tipsy from the alcohol, suddenly made an unthinkable remark. My mother died because my wife never provided her with decent meals. You're the worst wife, Sarah. Just get out. Don't ever set foot in my house again. James shouted these words in front of all the relatives. I was at a loss for words. We hardly spoke to each other, and the time we spent together had decreased. The relationship between my mother-in-law and my husband had always been incompatible. But why would he blame me like this at such an occasion? He's really the worst man to try to corner me mentally, even at a time like this. As I clenched my fists in anger, the next moment, all the relatives stood up. They all bowed to me and silently left. I was surprised. During the wake, all the relatives had left. James looked with wide eyes as the relatives left. Why? Then a certain person spoke to my surprised and flustered husband. James, all the relatives know what you've been doing up to now. What? Who are you? I'm a lawyer who was commissioned by your mother. A lawyer? What do you want? Your mother left a will. I'll read it all out loud as it's written here. The lawyer read Emma's will in front of my husband and me. We were surprised at the contents. My mother-in-law had recorded the fact that my husband only gave us $55 per month for food expenses and didn't pay for utilities. She also recorded that he repeatedly made morally harassing remarks to me and sent these records to the relatives. The relatives, knowing everything, had left in disgust after hearing my husband's words. And my mother-in-law had even more shocking news for me. The will continued, and it mentioned his affair. It seemed that my mother-in-law had hired a private detective to investigate. The lawyer who had received the investigation results from Emma showed them to us. There were photos of James entering a hotel with his mistress looking affectionate. My husband turned pale upon seeing the photos. You want to tell me what this is all about? No, this is, it's not what it looks like. What is it then? You were having an affair. Well, that's, James was extremely flustered. He desperately tried to make excuses, but there was no escape with so much evidence. It seemed that James was having an affair with a junior at work. The reason he had reduced the money he gave to us was that he wanted to save money to enjoy his time with his mistress even more. Unbelievable. We're getting a divorce. You be paying me compensation. I'll also claim compensation for the moral harassment, not just the affair. No. James cried and apologized, but I absolutely did not want to forgive him. You even made the relatives leave. You're really hopeless. Don't you dare attend the funeral tomorrow. If you're there, we won't be able to properly send off your mom. Why don't you go back to your mistress now and discuss how to pay the compensation?" When I said that, my husband left the scene with a frightened look. The next day, knowing that my husband wouldn't be attending, the relatives came to my mother-in-law's funeral feeling relieved. We all said our goodbyes together. After that, I divorced my husband and claimed compensation from his mistress. James had to pay a total of $53,000 for moral harassment and the affair, while the mistress had to pay $37,000. The affair became known at their workplace, and the mistress couldn't bear the cold stares and resigned. As long as her parents paid the compensation on her behalf, I didn't care if she quit her job or not. Since my ex-husband had to pay more compensation than his mistress and had no savings, he couldn't quit his job and had to work with a heavy burden on his shoulders. By the way, when my ex-husband started to withhold money unreasonably, I had actually gotten information about a side job and started doing it. Thanks to working diligently, by the time I divorced my ex, I was earning about $900 per month. So now I'm thinking of working part-time while continuing my side job to earn enough income to live on my own. In any case, it was a relief that we were able to hold my mother-in-law's funeral properly and also punish my ex-husband. From now on, I plan to forget about my terrible ex-husband and start a new life. Thank you for watching until the end.